So if you just want to make a PNGTuber avatar for VRChat, basically, you can do that. It can have walking animations, jumping, talking, all these things, even blinking. And let's get started. All you really need is the pictures and Unity with the VRChat SDK. Just the creator companion with the default VRChat SDK will work for this. And I've created a bunch of different images put into this animation. And it's just going to be on a plane. That's going to be the whole avatar. Don't worry about the transparency yet, but we'll get to that. First, we've got a new scene. We're going to go to game object and create empty. This is going to be our avatar. Just this empty with a plane in it. Let's name it avatar, and let's type in 0 to each of these to make sure it's 0, 0, 0. And we're going to add an avatar descriptor, and we'll get to this later. In the animation tab, if you don't see it, you might have to go to window, animation, click animation to get this somewhere on your screen. With this selected, we want to hit the create button to create our first animation. And I'm going to name it default. We'll create it, we'll edit it later, but for now we've created the default animation. It also creates an animator up here. So that is useful. If you don't have this window, make sure to go to window, animation, click animator. You want this one and that one is what we're going to work with. We're going to create the plane, and then we're going to be able to make all these animations and edit them. And then hook them together up here in the animator. So first, let's create the plane. We go to game object again and go down to 3D object and create a plane. This is what our character is going to be on. We want to drag it under the avatar so that it's now part of the avatar. We want to make sure it's in the right spot. 1.25 here, 90 here, that rotates us around. And for scale, I did 0.25. And that seemed to get it to an average, like regular person's height. So we've got this avatar now, and it's got an animator, it's got an animation. We just don't have any images on it. We're going to do that right now for the default. With this selected, we're going to hit this record button under the animation tab. Then all we have to do is drag our default image onto that plane. And it will create a material in this new folder, materials. And it also created a keyframe over here in the animation because we had the record button on. And that keyframe, what it does is it picks this material with this image. Don't worry about the transparency, we'll get to that. We just want to create an animation for each of these images we're going to use. I'm going to create another one. I think I have the blink one. I'm going to click record, drag the blink on there, create a new one, jump, and just record, rinse and repeat. You might have a lot of these, only a few. Just depends how you want to set it up. Once you get through this tutorial, you'll know how it works and you can customize it how you want. One of the things I'll show you how to do is do more than just one simple thing. I'm going to do a walk animation. I'm going to use all these 4 frames to it. I'm going to record the first one, but then I'm going to move this a little bit, and I still have the record button on. I drag the second one on. Now you'll see if you go back and forth, that's what the keyframes are. They're just swapping the image. So I want to go, I've got 4 of them here. I got a 4th one. Just something to note, it ends on the last keyframe. So this animation right here, I can play it. You see it just skips from the 3rd to the 1st because it doesn't have any time to stay on this last one. So I'm going to copy this with Control C, paste with Control V. Now we have a walking animation. Let me just fix the transparency. We've got this materials folder that was generated. It's got one for each image. I'm going to click the first one and hold down Shift and click the last one. So I've got them all selected. I want to change this one setting here to cutout. That will just fix the transparency, and you can mess with anything else here. That changed it for all of them. So where are we at now? We're still previewing an animation. So if we click that, we go back to what it's like without any animation. And we do want the default one to be on there by default. So there we go. We see our little guy. Now the question is, how do we make this work in VRChat? We've got all these animations, but if you look up in the animator tab, But remember, if you don't see this right now, go to Window, Animation, Animator. We see, if we select this, we've got all these animations, but they're not connected at all. The default's connected. If it's not orange, right click and set as layer default state. We want to figure out how to hook these up. There's parameters here. Basically, VRChat has a bunch of parameters, basically data about what's going on in VRChat. So one of them is called grounded. I'll show you the list. So right here, I'll put this link in the description. Animator parameters. Yeah, voice. It tells you what type it is. It's a float. I'll show you how to do that. But where's grounded? Grounded. I'm going to copy and paste this. It is a bool, and it's true if the player is touching the ground. So that's what we can use for the jumping animation. I'm going to click the plus here under parameters, click bool, because the list said it was a bool, and I'm going to paste in the name grounded. So now this will appear in our list. But what I want to do is right click on any state, make transition, and attach it to the jump. So if I click on this arrow, I will see, I'm going to click that to hide it so I have more space, but I'm going to see a bunch of settings. The most important thing here is under conditions. We hit the plus, and this is going to decide what parameter has to be what in order for this transition to happen. So what we've just created, because we have grounded selected and we have true selected, we want to change this to false, by the way. What we've just created is that from any state, and these things are states, by the way, from any state, there's a transition to the jump animation, which we created earlier, and it's when grounded is false. So VRChat will control this checkbox, whether it's on or not, based on whether your avatar is jumping or not. Then it's going to get stuck here and stay here forever. So what we want is to right click here, make transition, grounded is true. So when it's false, it goes there. When it's true, it goes back to default. We have one of the animations. Let's wait on blink. Blink's a little more complicated. Talk's pretty simple though. Where was it? Voice. Microphone volume goes from 0 to 1, and that is a float. Float just means it's a number. So voice is a number between 0 and 1. We want to switch to talk, let's say from any state. We're going to add the condition, make sure to change it to voice is greater than, and by default it's 0. We could change it maybe to 0.1. You can set it to what you want. You could have a whole bunch of different volumes that go to different drawings. If you wanted a really loud drawing and so on, you'd create an animation for each one of them. Create these transitions. But for this, we're just doing the one and another one back to default when voice is less than 0.1. What about walking? We're going to make transition, and we need another parameter for that. Definitely you can look through these and experiment. Like upright's useful if you want a crouching animation, things like that. Velocity, magnitude, these are just which direction you're going. For us, we're just going to do a walk animation no matter which direction you're going. So long as you're moving, you get the walking animation. So that was a float parameter. I'm going to paste that in. We'll control the walking animation. It's greater than 0. And then transition back when it's, let's say, less than 0.01. Okay, just in hindsight, if you have an animation coming from the any state, you should uncheck can transition to self, or it will just keep going to the start of that animation instead of actually playing through. All we have to do is put the playable layers in and drag this animator into FX. It'll be whatever you named this. I named it Avatar. This was generated when we first created the default animation, so it's all hooked up together. This, as we upload it now, it will work with all these features so far, except blinking. The only thing to note, there's a really weird issue with the expressions menu. If you created an expressions menu, did everything right, it just wouldn't show up. And the reason is because this slot right here isn't filled. I'm not going to set up an expressions menu in this, but let me just show you how to fix that. You're going to need an actual avatar somewhere. You're going to need its FBX file. So the model of any actual avatar, it has this in it, which is called an avatar definition. But you're going to make sure it's the animation type not humanoid. You're going to make sure it's set to a generic. And you're going to drag this in your slots there. That is a workaround purely to get expressions menu working. We don't need that for this specific avatar, but if you want to do menus with toggles and stuff like that, you can do that. You can have like a smile toggle or whatever. Okay, now I'm going to go to blinking. I'm going to create another bool called blink. And we're going to do the same transition, but we're going to have a different way of getting the blinking to happen. Because there's no, in that list of variables, my knowledge, there's no blink. Just make sure I finish this. Blinking is false. By the way, these might, you might want to set, this will work how we have it. Each of these transitions will be more instant if you turn off has exit time and change the duration to 0, especially on that walk animation. We have this blink parameter. The only issue is it doesn't go from on to off. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to layers and we're going to create a whole new layer and call it blink controller. Make sure the weight is set to 1. And we're going to use, let's see, well, let me come back here. We're going to want to create a new clip and we're going to call it blink timer. Now, all this is going to do is basically have a length to the animation. We don't want to do anything with this, but I'm going to use add property plain game object is active, and that will create a 1-second animation where nothing happens, basically. It's just an empty 1-second animation. That's what we want. We're going to put it into blink timer, and you can change the speed here. Like if I put it to 0.5, it would be every 2 seconds I blink. But I'm going to duplicate this because it is basically just an empty thing. I'm going to call this blink. And we'll wait for blink just so I don't get confused about which is which. And I'm going to make the blink last very short time. If you set this too high, it may actually not work. If we set this to 1,000 or something, just so you know. And we're going to transition. But for these, we're not going to add conditions. We're just going to keep the has exit time and set the exit time to 1, duration to 0. And the same way on the way back. So what this is going to do, it's going to play this animation for a second or half a second or whatever. And then when that's done, it's going to transition to this for 1/8 of a second. And then it's going to, when that's done, it's going to go back. So what we want to do is add behavior on here called VRChat Avatar parameter driver onto this state. It can be local only, and we're going to add, what is it? Set blink. Click add. We set it to blink, the parameter we made earlier. And the value is going to be 0. So when it goes to the default state, blink is off. When it comes over here, I'm going to add parameter driver again. Local add blink, but it's going to turn to on. So basically, this is just going to slowly go from here to here to here to here, and so on. And it's just going to change the parameter on and off. This doesn't actually have an animation in it. So in here we have the blink animation. Now that that's set up, this should all work. I'm going to give it a try. Yeah, since you added a plane, when you upload, it's going to give you this error. You just click autofix. And it's not humanoid, that's fine. We created our own animation set, build and test. It's going to ask you to save the scene. Probably should have done that earlier. PNG dude. Okay. And there we go. We are walking and jumping and blinking and talking. well, I hope you experiment with that and enjoy and spend more time drawing your PNGTuber than I did, perhaps. But hey, MS Paintworks, love to see what you make, and feel free to ask any questions.